So the last question that I wanted to ask you, and this is just, again, it's more, like I said, this is a little bit more of a personal interview. But it was important to me because I'm always learning from other artists, whether it's a photographer, a hairstylist, nail technician, tattoo artist, I'm always learning. But what fascinated me about you is you have the beautiful, like, non-creepy aspect to be able to work with teenage girls, make
Hmm.
them feel comfortable and help bring their personality out. And I think I told you from the beginning, Aya will literally tell you zero information
Yep.
on how to, but you have this ability to be able to kind of pull these like details out of her.
Hmm.
And I don't know if that's just, that calm demeanor that you have, but you're like not, I hate to use the word creepy, but you're not creepy.
Right.
So like I'm telling people all the time, male or female, don't be creepy. Like don't be like, hey, bend over this
Okay.
way. You're just, so what could you, I guess it would be advice. What would be your advice to someone working in the senior field specifically about not being creepy and just like kind of, especially as a guy in your field? I mean, you photograph a lot of
Yep.
young women, and I've heard you say we were not using these words.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about that and what your advice would be to other photographers.
Yeah.
Things
So
to avoid.
yeah. So the words thing. So I have a rule at the studio that we don't use S words.
S
S
words.
words. Like just
So, like shit? Or are we talking about like what else? What's
I
an
just
S
say
word?
blanket S word. Think of any S word you can think of.
Sexy.
Don't use it
Okay.
because
Which is so funny because, with my demographic working with women, I'm like, baby, we're going to be sexy all day.
right.
So
But
that's
I'm
what I'm
also dealing
saying.
with like your daughter's 16 years old.
Exactly. That's what I'm
And be like,
saying.
hey, let's be
So
sexy today. Like, yeah.
understanding that demographic and understanding your genre is key to building a brand, and
Mhm.
that's what is actually setting people apart. So but yeah, no, never once have I, and actually I think you had a conversation with Aya. She said something and you were like, well, nope, that's another word added to my list that I will never ever
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
But I love that. So you just have a rule of no s's. And with posing, I was watching you, and never once were you like, touching and
Right.
like moving. So, but how do you help them pose?
Yeah. So the first time I photographed her, we were on the mountain thing in
Yeah,
the background. So that
yeah,
was the first time I actually worked with her. But prior to that, we'd talk and conversations, and I saw her at Shutterfest and things like
yeah,
that. And so I kind of get an idea of how they move.
yeah.
And so I'll tell them, hey, turn right, turn left. Most kids have no idea what left and right is. You have to kind of put your hands up
Yeah, and
and do your thing.
sometimes you have to be a mirror for
Right,
them.
right.
Yeah.
And so I do a lot of that. But as we photograph more, and so later on, 3 or 4 days later, now I'm able to have that rapport with her to where, hey, I'm going to fix something for you, and then we kind of move the shoulder.
Right. And
Or
I noticed you always say, "Hey, I'm coming in," and you like
right,
give them a heads up that you're going to say, "I'm going to move you. I'm going to
right,
touch your shoulder,"
right.
which
The
I think
word
is
of caution with that is that most people never say no to
right.
that. I can be
Right.
like, hey, I'm gonna touch your shoulder, I'm gonna fix your hair. You're like, okay, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
Or you could be cringing inside with
Right.
that, but you're not going to say no to it because I'm the professional aspect of it, and that's where a
Right.
lot of photographers get themselves in trouble with things. And so, generally speaking, we do a hands-off rule. However, I can start building those relationships with people to
Right.
where we're
You
able to.
know
Right.
certain
Right,
boundaries.
right. They know where I'm coming from. They
Absolutely.
know, they're comfortable with me and all of that. Even then, if there's like a necklace or something like that, I'm not even ask. Be like, hey, I'm gonna fix your necklace. Not even gonna.
Right.
Hey, mom, fix the necklace, or hey, fix this for me. So there's certain parts of the body that we obviously don't want to get close to, especially with high
Right.
school seniors. Um,
Right.
and so
Right.
again, we had to remember they're 16 to 18 or so,
Absolutely.
even though they act like they're
Which I
older.
appreciate. And I know every other parent appreciates that significantly.
Yeah,
Because, like I said, I've been watching you.
but
And it's not because I've been watching you from like a creepy aspect, but I just wanted to know, like, I wanted to see how a man works with a young
right.
female. And you just, again, seamlessly, you understand your demographic. You have built this relationship with these clients, and I feel like the more you know about the client, the more you would say, there's no way I'm going to get close to even, like you said, moving a hair or
Right.
even touching a shoulder or whatever. Even if you were to say, hey, I'm going to move you, if you knew them the way that you know all of your clients, you would be like, this is not going to be, I'll have mom or
Right.
whomever do it.
Yeah, and so like yours is a little bit different because you kind of got us on location and you took off and went off and did your own thing.
Yeah.
Which is fine. You wanted me to kind of have that aspect to it, but most of the parents aren't like that. And so
Right.
usually the parents are the worst ones,
Oh,
which
I
is
can
where like
imagine.
no S rules come in because the mom's like, hey, be more sexy, be
Right.
more seductive, be
So
more
what do
seductive.
you do when the moms say that?
Hey, mom,
Like,
hold this light for me and make sure it doesn't blow over. And
okay,
then they're concentrating on something
something
and
else.
they're not paying attention to what we're doing.
Got
And
it.
again, so with the parents, we want the parents to be involved in the experience. And so you were off, and again, you were being a little bit different because you
Absolutely.
didn't want me to feel pressure or anything. I think with you being there.
Well, I was, well, I know you so well that I know that I don't I don't think you would feel pressure for me. It was more about my daughter.
Right,
I knew she would be feeling like all eyes were on her, so I was just like,
right,
let me same thing with the phone call. I was like, you go in the room, I'll be out here. I don't want her to feel like she has to be anybody but herself. And herself really is kind of like your personality. Whatever you want to do, but as you were at the longer we've been here, the more you have pulled her
right.
personality out, which has been beautiful for me to see. So even in a case, and I know we're a little bit different that we're, staying longer than most of your clients, but even still on a smaller scale, I know that you would still have that same ability with because I've seen it. If you've been able to pull out any personality in my child
Right.
whatsoever, I mean, she's got plenty of personality, but her
Mm-hmm.
true self instead of her mirroring whatever, then I have not a single doubt that you are able to do that with every single senior that comes to you. Now, is the majority of your demographic is it female seniors or do you have uh like guy seniors wanting to travel too, or is it
Yeah,
normally
so
the girls?
so it's interesting because we had a conversation with one of the guys not too long ago, and I did his sister's pictures. We went to Puerto Rico with the sister,
Yeah.
and so I was like, hey, where do you want to go for your picture? He's like, I'm not traveling. That's stupid. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, she was on a beach and she was, all this stuff, dresses, and, and he's like, what am I gonna do?
Like,
And so I was like, we can do some cool stuff. We can go
absolutely.
wherever. He's like, well, I don't know where to go, and so I was like, right, I'm gonna do yourself a favor. Just Google beaches in Brazil and get back to me. Phone call later on. Hey, we're gonna go to Brazil tomorrow. I'm ready to go. And so it was the girls in bikinis,
Uh-huh.
the model type thing. It's, yeah, let's do it. So like, and so most of them are even the pictures in general. Most of what we do, 99% is females
Yeah,
because the
okay.
guys don't necessarily want pictures. I know some photographers are super successful with guys.
Yeah.
Just in our area, I guess they just don't want to do it. Even though we do like kind of like the Calvin Klein GQ look to it,
I was gonna say I've seen your work
we
with
can make it look really cool. It's just that they get there
absolutely.
and they're like, "Hey, I'm only doing this because mom wants me to do it," and then they realize it's not as bad as they thought it was going to be.
And that I feel like is going to be one of those things where it doesn't matter how much marketing using
Right.
using guy images, it's going to have to be like a word of mouth situation where it's like, dude,
Right.
it was totally an awesome experience, and it's going to be them talking to their friends. That's going to be the marketing for you
Right.
versus
But
something.
even then, like even me as a high school guy, and I went through, I ran cross country, I did track, I played soccer,
Yeah.
I was an athlete. So most of the seniors, that I photograph are athletes. I never looked at my friends' senior pictures. We're like, hey, that's like super cool picture. It's just not something that we did.
Right.
And so we did more of just the formal whatever we had to do for the school.
Right. In the tux.
Right, but even the ones that we do the sessions for, like we did, soccer player, we dressed them up in a suit, on the
Right.
soccer field, and he's doing all that there, looked really cool.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I asked a couple of his friends, like, we never saw the pictures.
Really? That is
It's just something
too
like
funny.
I had never.
It's just a different
Right.
mindset.
It's just, I mean, I think the male perspective is a little different, whereas the girls are like, hey,
Oh,
can you see my
100%.
picture? Check this out.
Oh,
Want
yeah,
to? And
100%.
the guys are like, yeah, whatever. They don't want to make, the picture taking to them seems like a boring thing.
Well, and I can tell you honestly, today, well, maybe it was yesterday actually, because today I think was the day that I asked if I could actually share
Hmm.
the image on social media. My daughter asked if she could share that on
Hmm.
her social media. I said, let me ask CJ first because obviously your logo is on it, but I still want to be
Right.
respectful and not just like slap stuff everywhere and
Mhm.
take some image that and save it, screenshot it, whatever. So I asked you today if I could do that, and I think she's just like waiting because I was like, well, baby, let me talk to him first because everybody has their own,
Right.
and being in the industry myself too. You already know that I'm going to have large works of art put into
Right.
my home. So it's not that I was worried about you thinking that I was going to steal images from
Mhm.
you, but I wanted to respect whatever your rules were. But the fact that she even wanted to share them on social media because she is not,
Right.
she's like, again, like you said, she's a
Yeah.
30-year-old in like a 16-year-old body. She's not on social media the same way. So the fact that she asked me that, I was like, that hit me
Right.
because it means she was excited about them. So, but yeah, for sure. I think that the mindset is 100% different between, just the girls and the guys in general, but just how you act with all of them. And I would imagine that with guys, you have a little bit of a different personality with them and
No, I mean, I think it's about the same. It's just more, and so I pride myself in knowing a little about a lot of things.
that's good.
And so a lot of people are like, I want to be an expert in X, Y, Z or whatever.
Yeah.
The reason I want to know a little bit about a lot of things is I can have conversations with just about anybody, and
Yes.
tie that. So like the ballet dancer, I know, just enough about ballet to know positions and poses, but I can talk to them and learn more about what they do and help them in the pictures.
Yeah.
Same thing with the guys who play video games or weightlifting or things like that. I know enough about those things to have
Right.
conversations, and so the conversations become like the icebreaker, so to
Absolutely.
speak. And so you guys have mentioned like horses. I know enough about horses. I'm not an expert on horses by any means,
Right.
but I know we can tie in things and have conversations. And
Yeah.
again, it's just the building that relationship, that the trust with those things.
I love that.
Um,
So, oh no, I was gonna say, so the last thing, because like I said, I will sit here and talk with you forever because this is personal to me. I'm living it right now. We fly out tomorrow, but I've already seen just a handful of pictures,
mhm,
and I know I'm gonna have like my major crying moment, like when I get home because I love them so much already, and I've only seen like your few small quick edits and stuff like that. So I already know it's going to be a big thing. But this whole experience has been amazing. So this is definitely going to be one of the longer interviews that we have. But the last thing that I wanted to ask you was just about brand recognition
mhm,
and how do you help other photographers to focus on standing out? Because again, and this is just me trying to beat it over the
right.
head a little bit
Mhm,
with brand recognition. So you talked about, and we kind of got started on it a few minutes ago, the being able to see the changes. So
mhm,
that word is being innovative,
right.
right?
Mhm,
So you saw that there was a kind of like a missing piece to a puzzle,
right.
and you were like, I think I know how to innovate and create something a little bit different.
Mhm,
And so what my question is for any artist or photographer, whether they're just starting out or whether they've been in business forever and they are stuck or they feel stuck in their career, maybe they feel like they've been, maybe they're stuck with pricing or maybe they're stuck with their demographic and they
mhm.
can't grow. What would be your final word of advice to them to help them get out of that stuck feeling? Because for you, being here for 18 years, you've done nothing but innovate and change and look for things to kind of make something different. So what would you say? How would you help them get out of their own head?
Um, that's like a complex.
It is
uh,
super complex.
Because I think there's a difference between being stuck in a spot to where you're just don't know what to do,
Yeah.
kind of thing, versus innovating. And
So,
so I think like being stuck, I would say like if you're stuck in somewhere, you're getting bored with what you're doing, or you're not progressing where you want to do.
yeah.
I would then say to just focus on things that you want to shoot. So
Okay.
whether that's hey, I'm gonna go out and do a photo shoot, just for fun,
To try.
find the passion with it.
Yeah.
If we're talking about innovation, I think that's a different question, because I think the innovation side of it is looking for what the next trend is going to be.
Hmm.
And I don't think that someone who's necessarily stuck in what they're doing, struggling with the, you know, being stuck part of it,
Yeah.
is gonna.
So the being stuck part you think is more so them just not focusing on their own
Well,
creative ability.
I think a lot of it is it's the mundane that they deal with,
The
and so
the
whether it's
day in, same
the
lighting.
emails, I get an email in,
Yes.
client comes in, and now you're just kind of going through the motions, so to speak, and you
Right.
lost the initial passion that you had initially.
Right. Right.
And it just you're in the business part of it, and you're just kind of going through just walking through the
Yeah.
motions, and you're not
Yeah.
really focusing on what what you want to do,
Yeah.
and you're kind of afraid to reach out or branch out because you're been doing this for so long, and this is what's comfortable. A lot of people find comfort in
They
things,
and then they burn themselves out
right?
by
And then it's like then they just like I'm just doing this now. Why? You're
right.
stuck with it.
Right.
And so that's where I think the people need to get out and do things for fun. And so whether
Yes.
that's just photographing something they would never photograph before,
Yes.
taking a trip somewhere, traveling, finding passion, doing
Yes.
that, even possibly taking a break away.
Yeah.
Some people need a break just to,
Absolutely.
take 2 weeks, 3 weeks,
Yeah.
chill.
And genuinely don't actually think about work. Like
Right.
genuinely don't think about work for
Right.
a little while.
Whereas the innovation thing, I think, is more of a business structure planning going forward.
Yeah.
And I think that those people need to kind of think about what the future is going to be in the industry. And so too
What do
often,
you think the future of the industry is?
you're not going to like my answer.
That's okay.
Okay.
I'll tell you. I'll tell you how I feel about it.
So
But
I
that's
think the future is digital.
okay.
All the products that we're going to have are going to be digital.
I don't necessarily disagree.
Well, because it's not the wall art, and it's not the. I know you're big on wall art and houses. And
Oh, yes, for sure. Well, I mean, that's just what I'm known for. But I mean,
Right.
I'm always looking for innovation as well. So it's not that I don't sell digital files, but they are going to be the most costly thing that people, because it's my
Right.
blueprint of my artwork. And, I mean, my demographic's a little bit different. No, it's a lot different than yours,
Right.
but I don't disagree with that. But I think there will always be a place for printed
Right.
pieces.
But I think the piece of that is going to be smaller. And so
It's very
going
likely.
forward, so if we look at the art world, you've
Yeah.
got your Rembrandts, you've got Picassos, all those
Right.
things. There's collectors for all those things.
Right.
They'll sell for millions and millions
Absolutely.
of dollars. But that's a very, very small percentage of the overall market for art, so to speak.
Right.
And so like this picture on the wall, I don't know who drew it, whatever. That's probably not a Rembrandt or anything. But somebody bought it because they liked it to decorate their house.
Right.
And so I think that the people that are growing up are coming up, like the adults that are making those decisions, they're in
Right.
the digital world. And so when you think about high school seniors in particular, like for me, they're born in 2005, 2006.
Yes.
The iPhone came out in 2007.
Right.
The iPad came out, I think, 2010.
So I can understand why you say that I would disagree, because I have literally said people say we're in a digital age, and I 100% disagree with that, because the reason that I state that is when we think about all of the memories,
Mhm.
of our entire existence, I always use the example of like, around the holidays, everybody gets with family and they all
Mhm.
kind of crowd around the table and look through the four
Photo
by six photo albums.
We were
Yeah.
visiting the castle. We looked at all the old pictures that were on the walls, and
That actually that moved me in a way, and it just further showed me that, I mean, if we think about it, all of the things that we've seen while we're here, without having some form, I mean, before even cameras were around, paintings were there. If we didn't have them, that documentation is gone. Then we're reading about it in a book or trying to envision it in some other way. So that's why I say, the digital world will always be there. I mean, things are only progressing. I mean, even like I said, we've talked about AI. I mean, things are always going to be changing and progressing, but there will always be a place for print. But I don't disagree that things are digital.
well, I think so. Again, if you look at it as a art standpoint, there's always going to be that 1% of people that want the art.
Yeah.
The 99% of people aren't going to want that. And so what I mean by that is, and this is where it kind of gets controversial and, kind of...
I love controversial subjects.
People don't like what the answer to this, but I'm using high school seniors in particular, because
Yeah.
that's what I focus on. So they were born with pretty much an iPhone in their hand.
Yes.
Their parents had boxes. Like I have a 15-year-old So she was born in
Yes.
2007.
Yes.
I didn't think
She's a year. No, it's okay. She's a year younger than Aya.
But yeah, so she was born in 2007, so she's pretty much born in that digital age.
Yes. Yes.
But I have shoe boxes in my closet of pictures. My
Yeah.
grandparents' house had pictures on the walls, things like that. She has a phone with
Yes.
all her pictures on it. So she doesn't have the same print experience that we had growing up.
Right.
And so now, we think of them.
She won't until something happens and she loses all of those images because she doesn't have enough space on her iCloud, or something happens and then she might be like, "Oh my God, why didn't I print these out?" Because that will happen eventually.
Right, but she's still connected through me to that age of print.
Right.
The kid that's born in 2015, in 2030, 2032,
right.
What were they born into? Their parents were born in 2000,
right,
whatever, 1999. Right. They were born in the digital age. And so as the generations progress, you're losing the print-based connection that we had. Because all the prints...
I can see where that could be controversial, because I do disagree with that to a certain degree. Because I just, like I said, if there's anything I've learned from this trip is having something tangible.
All right, but
that's never going to go away.
But you're also the age that came from that. And so, like, if you're looking at, like, my daughter, let's say, she's 15, let's say she has a kid at 23.
Yeah.
She was born in the digital age. So more likely it's going to be cell phone pictures and all that of the kid.
Right.
The next generation forward, we're going to get to a point in time to where the connection to print in the past, the old folks like us that have that connection are going to be gone. Or they're going to be progressed, and then because even now you probably notice it in different places that there's less wall art in houses. So if you look at Chip and Joanna, they do the design show.
Yeah, yeah. The
how many of their designs have family portraits incorporated in the design?
Oh, none of them. I mean, as a matter of fact, anybody who sells their home, they're told to remove the images off.
But even like designers, like I know a designer that does interior design for houses, and they don't incorporate family pictures at all.
Oh,
because the family picture clutters the design aesthetics of what they're creating, and so you're looking at minimalistic designs. And so, like my grandparents, I remember walking through the halls, and we saw it in the
and having a bunch of like 8 by 10
everywhere,
right? Of course,
all throughout the house. That was what they had, and now we're moving away from that to a more minimalistic design.
Which that's where I think our controversy in that comes in, is that I don't encourage a billion small prints. I want large too that are sleek and acrylic and something that is going to go with that minimalistic.
The large print that's going to have is going to be like a TV display. So the frame TV from Samsung is going to be their large image on the wall. Because now you're going to move away from a black box that's a TV, and you're going to move into an art piece that displays during the day, turns into TV at night. And so they're not going to do the even the larger image at some point. No, that's
maybe.
Not tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's not next year. And that's going to be the generational change, I think, from the seniors, the kids that are born in 2010, 2012, 2015, that were born with the digital technology. Everything that they've digested in their entire lives is on a screen.
Yeah, for sure.
So there's no need for them, in their minds, to print something on the wall that everything that they see is here.
That's what I'm saying, until something happens to that.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, crap, I'm going to have to.
But by then, it's too late.
It is too late.
And so I think, like I said, at some point in time, we're going to see that shift away from the acrylics, the metals, the canvases into a digital display of some form.
That's so fascinating to me, because even another photographer that we were talking to at one of the conferences that we were speaking at has actually like gone back and they started doing like painterly, like canvases that are what I would say is like 1990, like grandparent style. And they are saying that their clients are wanting that. So this is such a fascinating, but this is exactly why I ask these questions, because I want everybody's perspective on it to show that not only is there a demographic for everything, but to also keep in mind that, the future, we have to be mindful of what could and potentially very much so happen in the future, for sure. So being able to think on that digital age, because I like I said, I do disagree for the most part with what you're saying, because I think there's always going to be.
Well, I think so. I'm gonna challenge you to this. Go to Universal. Like, come to Orlando, go to Universal, go to Harry Potter World and
I
Universal.
don't do theme
Okay,
parks.
just do it for the marketing aspect of it.
Okay, I can do that.
And so go there. And so I had this conversation with someone that were there because I didn't expect it either. I looked up on the wall and there's like paintings on the wall.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, oh, that's a cool painting. That's the Hogwarts or whatever it is.
Okay.
With Harry Potter. I don't follow Harry Potter, but
Yeah.
So I'm looking at, hey, it's a painting on the wall. 2 seconds later, transitions of the thing is talking to me.
Oh, that scares me.
But it's a digital display.
But yeah.
But looking at it,
I mean, who's to say that we don't start offering digital products that display that way,
Correct.
but they're in a...
Correct. And that's my point with it is that the medium that we're going to be doing it on is going to be different. And
so that's, I mean, I don't disagree with that.
And so it's not going to be the acrylics, it's not going to be the prints, it's not going to be, it might be a digital way to either license images digitally to where it
like
shows
a frame, but
right.
maybe it's, well, you remember the phase of the little itty bitty like 8x10 frames that people would put on their coffee tables and it would just loop the...
Right. So the argument, that's always the counter argument. Hey, we used to have those digital displays, nobody uses them.
Right.
Because they were crappy.
No, absolutely.
The images look horrible. So now you're looking at like 4K, 8K frames, and that's what this was. It was a 4K frame that looked like a painting on the wall.
Yeah.
That transitioned into a thing.
Right.
And so I think that the shift we're going to see is we're going to see more video work.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're seeing TikTok, Instagram, all those things are pushing video. And so I think that's where the digital transition shifts away because you can't put a video up on your wall.
Right. Well, not yet.
Right. But I mean, you can't do it with the canvas. So your canvas or your acrylic, whatever it is that you're selling now as a product, because a lot of photographers are like, oh, you get the product. That's where you make your money, product. So you can't make money on digital.
I find myself in between, for sure. Because like I said, it's not that I don't sell digital files, but I am absolutely more so like that heirloom. Right. But, again, that's, I certainly didn't start that way. Mm-hmm. I started like most photographers. It used to be called shoot and burn. Now I call shoot and send because it's literally people just, sending digital files. That's how I started. So if anything, I've learned how powerful print is just from seeing my clients' reaction. So I don't think you're wrong, but I don't think there is a 100% right or wrong in this area. But that's why I love talking to people about it, because I think the controversial side, I really don't actually think it's it shouldn't be controversial, right?
Well, I think it is from the standpoint because the industry teaches people that they need print. You need to print to make money. If your business isn't doing
print. Well, see, and that right there, I already disagree with, because then you have to think about the editorial side and people who are selling things to magazines. I mean, they're making, $50,000, $60,000 off of one.
Well, I'm talking about like your general portrait.
Yeah.
Things like that. It's albums or prints or different things. And I think like where you're coming from, you're the 1% that focuses. I think like your business is more individualized.
Absolutely.
And so I think you're targeting the people that want that individualized. You're that 1% of art collectors.
Absolutely. I am.
Whereas 99% of the other photographers are general portraiture, run their businesses. They can be successful with it, but they're targeting a different demographic.
Absolutely.
That isn't going to buy the Rembrandts and isn't going to buy those types of things, but they want something of their family.
But to help them though, and this is where that issue comes in, there's nothing wrong with selling digital files. It's what they are selling them for that is hurting them.
Correct.
So, like I said, this really shouldn't be a controversy. I don't think it's controversial at all. In fact, I think it's extremely important that we talk about all the different sides of it, because I don't disagree with you at all that things will be digital. I don't disagree with you that, the little 8x10s that did show and they were crappy, they were horrible. That something better will come out, and maybe that is what ends up being a display that is huge on the wall, whatever the case may be. I mean, even like there was a thing in Atlanta where we live that was I'm going to forget the name now, but you walked in and the entire room was like being in outer space. Like, for all we know, that very well could be the future of, like, it could replace wallpaper and you could just have your family's faces huge. Who knows? I will not disagree with you with that at all. However, when it comes to digital files, and I think where people go too far with the sell product, I am not that person, because you can absolutely be a very successful photographer selling digital files, even in the portrait world, with seniors, with pets, with whatever, but to price them accordingly to what your knowledge is, to what your experience is. That is where I think photographers are falling short.
Right.
So that's the biggest thing.
Well,
So
I think most of them look at it as there's no tangible product that they're creating, so there's no tangible cost to them to create the
right.
product. And so I had a client one time, and honestly, my doctor clients are the worst ones in the world with this.
That is so funny
because they like micromanage everything.
Everything.
And it's like,
well, and they're for sure that does happen because I mean that's kind of part of their career,
right. But like even like in the sales room, so like I had a doctor come in one day, the client, and he's like, "Why am I going to give you $99 for an 8x10?"
Right.
He's like, "I can go get the print for $1 at Walmart."
Right.
I was like, "Okay." So,
it's not about the paper.
right. And so I tell him, I was like, "All right, here's a sheet of paper."
Yep.
And he's like, "What's this?" I was like, "That's your 99 cents."
Yep.
Throw some ink on there, scribble some ink on there, it's 99 cents.
Yep.
The image you're buying is $98.
Exactly.
That goes onto that image.
It's my eye, it's my lighting,
right.
It's my composition, my experience.
Right. And so then he's going on, he kind of said, "Well, I can understand that, this and that." And so then, the whole conversation, and this kind of goes back to client pushback and things like that. So
right.
The topic of what we're talking about. But
I think it's good to talk about. Go ahead.
I could, like I said, I'd be here for hours. We can make this like an 8-hour podcast. I got stories.
Interview part 1, interview part 2.
Right. Anyway, so he's like, we paid all this, why are we gonna spend, $3,000 on these portraits? Just giving his wife a hard. She wanted everything.
Yes. Yes.
And so I had to stop him there. I was like, "Look, I know you're giving me a hard time about the paper, all that stuff." I was like, "Let me ask you a question." He's like, "Sure, go ahead." I was like, What does it cost me to walk into your office?" And they don't know the answer because they have staff that does all that stuff. But I was like, just guess. And he's like, insurance. I was like, don't. Cash. I'm paying cash. We're gonna walk in. I'm sick. I need to see you. He's like $200. So, all right, fine. $200. So I pay your office $200. I get to see you. I was like, how long do I get in front of you for you to diagnose me for whatever that it is I have? He's like, normally, depends. I was like, just give me a number. He's like 10, 15. He's like 10 minutes. I was like, so you're making, 10 times 6, $1,200 an hour just for me walking in. He's like, well, I've done school, I've done this. I'm gonna stop you there because you did med school for 8 years, you did residency for 4 years, you're 12 years into it. I'm 15 years in my business. I'm at your level of what you're doing and where I'm at.
Yes.
And he starts seeing where I'm going with it, and he's like, all right, she can.
Yeah. Oh, well, my stopper on that one is they'll drive up in these vehicles that are, $150,000 that's going to last them maybe 10 years. These memories are going to last you forever, whether you're doing that by print or digital, whatever. So that's my that sale block, if you will, that I'm just like, you're justifying spending, more than a lot of people do on their homes, and you're trying to argue about $10,000 or $15,000 for having if you're wanting digitals, or $20,000 if you're doing a wall art, whatever the case may be. Yeah, then they really kind of shut up after that one. But yeah, so that's going back to that point of it. I do agree with you for sure, and like I said, I find myself right in the middle. I sell digital files. The majority of my clients do come to me specifically for a wall art. That's definitely, but again, I 100% agree with you. I have a very small demographic, but that's also kind of where I want to be in my business. So it depends on, where you want to go. So is there anything wrong with selling digital files? Absolutely not. And do I think that the world is going to continue to move in a digital way? Absolutely. Do I think that there will still always be room for tangible products? I personally do. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, I'm not dead set on it. If something happens, I'll innovate because that's the beauty of
that's kind of the point I was making with it, is like, we're so stuck in our ways a lot of times of, we need to be profitable, we have to follow XYZ formula.
Right.
So whereas we're not noticing things around us, and so like I said, that Harry Potter thing opened my eyes because I'm looking at a painting that talks to me on the wall. And it's like, is this what the future is going to be? So like,
very possible.
I always tell people, again, I have a marketing background, so I'm a little bit more familiar with some of this stuff.
Yes.
And so I always tell people is like, in order to get a gauge on what consumers are doing, is follow the big companies that have multi-million-dollar budgets, because they do market research. They spend billions of dollars a year, trying to reach certain people.
Absolutely.
And so, if you want to be high end, go watch, your Gucci, your Louis Vuitton, go to their stores, see how they're packaging things, see how their, their customer service experience is.
Preach quite a bit.
Just go to walk through Louis Vuitton one day and see what they do. Or, I recently was car shopping. It's like go to a BMW dealership, Audi dealership, whatever it is, see how they treat you there versus going to a Kia.
Yeah.
I had to put the Kia thing on there. Um,
I was waiting for it. That's
but anyway,
okay.
so a lot of those things, and so you can follow what other companies are doing and kind of incorporate that into our businesses.
Absolutely.
And so seeing that digital print that's talking to us, it started made me realize that maybe the future of what we're doing is, video hybrid of some sort, whether that technology is there today,
Or
if it's too
5 years from
expensive
now,
or
a year
whatever
from
it
now,
is. But we're starting to
whatever.
think about ways that we can incorporate that into it.
Absolutely.
And so maybe we're filming senior sessions and we're doing like reels or some sort that we provide them as a product. Be like, hey, mom, I put this video together for you. This is your
Yeah.
trip in a nutshell.
Yeah.
And we might.
Which even in my company, that's what we do. So, I
Right.
mean, I 100% agree with that. But the key there is to not be stuck in your ways.
Right.
And that was the biggest thing that I wanted to, and all of that right there kind of sums this entire me just wanting to let everyone kind of hear more about you and your brand. That kind of sums it all up for me because it made full circle with, just how long you've been in the industry, how much you've been just keeping an open mind with things and changing throughout and not being scared of that change and realizing this isn't really so much, again, finding that missing piece to the puzzle and then putting it in there is initially what you've done. And I think that that's beautiful. And for anybody who is wanting to learn more about you and what you do and your destinations and just your business and how you've gotten to where you are, where can they go?
Yeah, so we have a Facebook group. It's Zenith Senior Portraits. So Zenith is the name of it.
Zenith.
Yep. And so the idea behind that is, I think it's Greek, but Zenith means peak. And so when I created the group, senior year is the peak of the up to that point of their lives, and so I kind of tied in that to
I love
with
that.
the name
Yeah.
group.
Yeah.
But Zenith on there, and then my Facebook and Instagram personal pages.
Yeah. Now, do you only speak at conferences or do you do mentorships with
We do
people?
mentorships. We don't do a super ton. I mean, I'm not known for it.
Right.
But we have some people that come to us for destinations. They have we're working on a couple destination guides. So like this trip, for instance, we'll put into a guide of some sort to where people can possibly pre-purchase our trip. So
Absolutely. That'd be nice.
So where I've scouted locations for them. We've
Yeah.
done all this work for
Because
them.
it takes a lot of time on your end
Yeah,
to plan all of this out. I mean, I can't imagine how much time you took.
Do you want the truth?
Yeah.
Like 2 hours.
Oh.
But again, it's the experience of doing it. And so,
Okay.
and so,
See, there you go.
and so I've gotten to the point. So the same thing with
I don't know why I was thinking, but that makes sense though. I mean,
because in your head it's I've got to find locations, I got to do this, I got to do Airbnbs. It's a scatter of it. For me, I'm with Andrew and I talked a little bit earlier about Ann Leibovitz.
Yes.
And so a lot of people bash her because she basically walks into a scene, someone hands her a camera, lights are already set up for her, she takes a picture, she's done in 5 minutes.
I can't believe that's even a thing that people bash her.
But it's brilliant because she's been in the industry so long that she knows exactly what she's doing, so she can get in 5 minutes where it might take someone 4 hours to do it.
Absolutely.
And so same thing with me with this. It took me about 2 hours to plan this trip because I knew how to use Google Maps. I knew I talked to you on the phone. I got ideas of locations. I was able to Google certain locations.
Yep.
Knew the areas to put into. I knew how to travel.
Well, you even helped me with the vacation side of it too. Like, I wanted to surprise Aya with horseback riding, and you even helped me with that. Like literally every single thing. And that to me is something that I don't. Oh, for anybody who is full time with anything, that is such a beautiful piece of the experience. Is to not. It's like outsourcing at its finest, but being able to enjoy and build these memories and have them documented.
And that's kind of what we do with the experience side of it. And so again, you're hiring me for the expertise that I have in doing this. You could plan your own trip. You're a great photographer. You go photograph your own scene, your own daughter here.
People ask me that. They said, "Why
Right.
aren't you photographing your own daughter?" And I said, "Because I don't freaking want to. I'm
When you don't have
busy.
time, and you're
I don't.
busy, and you know.
And I want to enjoy seeing my
Right.
daughter. I don't want her. I want it to be with somebody else because we all know that kids are going to work, act their worst
Right.
with their own parents. So like, I'm like, you know what? I want this to actually be an enjoyable experience, and that's exactly
Right. But again, it was the peace of mind for you because
yes,
now everything is planned for you.
yes. And I
Now,
know that it's going to go well because it's not me telling my daughter to get in a dress. She's like, "Mom, it's not." And you were able to connect with her and figure out who she is. And you guys she told me over and over again, she's like, when CJ says only 5 more minutes, he actually means only 5 more minutes. And, I've heard
right.
that the entire trip. And I'm like, okay,
And with
that's
the
fine. That's exactly why I hired you to do it.
so the girl that hates dresses, how many dresses did she wear this trip? Like 4?
Geez, yeah, yeah, at least 4.
Right.
I mean, oh, yeah, and she does.
The
And
girl
I
that
think she
hates,
said that today. She was literally like, normally I hate dresses, but in this case, it wasn't
right.
so bad. So yeah, but yeah, that's exactly that right there. Again, just to help other artists, other photographers in general. Well, I'm in a group photographers for sure because that's who we're talking to. Having that experience and that brand and making sure that they are pricing themselves according to their knowledge and ability to provide an experience for their clients. Because going back to the digital, which is not to focus on sales, but going back to that digital and again having an open mindset
Right.
on things. So okay, well, thank you, CJ, so much.
Yeah. Well, thank you for
I
getting this
appreciate
going.
you on so many different levels, because not only are you bringing your knowledge and expertise to Artists of the Roundtable and our creatives that are going to be there, but I appreciate you as a client as well because all of this it's been beautiful for me and I love it and I'm very appreciative. So thank you for everything. And we're probably I'm gonna send everybody your way and I'll be blowing up pictures of my child
Yeah.
that you've
And we're
taken.
going to Egypt next year, right? Is that
We
what's happening?
have to because I'm not planning that.
Right.
I'm not doing it. Well, thank you so much,
Yes.
CJ. I really appreciate you. And hopefully we'll get to have you back in a couple of months and drop some more content for people.
Yeah, sounds good. I can talk here for all day. So
I love it.
that sounds good.
Thank you so much, buddy.
You're welcome.